3, 2, 1,
go!
1919, 1919, 1919, 1919, 1919, 1919. Got it.
1709.9101112.
Yeah.
All right. So, welcome to the video game show. Joining us today, we have myself, Keith.
You gotta say what the episode is.
Oh,
Episode 180.
episode 180. I'm still Keith. We also have Ivan and Bob.
Hello. See, Ivan was supposed to say hi right
I was expecting him to say something, but
This is new. We're still getting used to this.
yeah.
Hi.
Hi.
Hi. Hi.
And the game's on, but I'm not watching it because, to be honest, I don't particularly care.
Neither do I, and I have never cared.
I was about to say, I mean, even if the Browns are in the Super Bowl, you wouldn't care.
No, you know what? If the Browns were in the Super Bowl, I'd f***ing watch. I'd have no idea what the hell is going on, but I'd be like, yeah!
Go team! Look, they threw the ball and then dropped it.
And I'd be like, is Shaq playing today?
Hey, he's on a Cleveland team, so I mean...
Yeah. That was supposed to be the joke. That much I know.
So there's a minute 10 left in the first quarter, and it's 3-0 Indianapolis, apparently.
Wow. I guess if it's playing for a half hour, that works. That makes sense.
Are the Saints going to win? I want the Saints to win.
No, but they are going to come marching in.
Okay. Fair enough.
This week on the GamerCast Network, That Game Girl adds some style and grace to episode 89 of the post-game report as the crew covers the latest video game news. On Podtacular, they visit some more ODST maps, Windward and Security Zone, as they return to a regular schedule. On the Sarcastic Gamer Red Show, Doc, Dave, and Lano celebrate 100 episodes by discussing Mass Effect 2, MAG, and the Battlefield Bad Company demo. Discover the community that brings you all these great podcasts and more at GamerCastNetwork.com.
All right. Well, anywho, I guess we could start with Mass Effect 2 because I've been playing the shit out of that.
Oh, are you the lizard guy with 2 hemi-penises?
No, but he's on my team.
Okay, well, that's good enough.
And we have to swab his cloaca. But I make Miranda go do that because I don't like her.
It's like, be careful. It might have dust and debris in it, and then it would fall off.
Well, he's like super warrior guy, so it'd actually be more like, it has body parts in there, so be careful. Because my body parts are...
There's a chunk of scalp in my hemi-penis. Could you swab that for me?
And for all you kids out there, male crested geckos have hemi-penises, where they actually have 2, and then and they that's what we're talking about there, to fill you in on the joke. Anywho, but...
So Mass Effect 2, we discovered, has a text scaling issue for standard definition televisions, just like Dead Rising did.
Yeah, it's horrible to read.
But you aren't having the same problem as you had with Dead Rising.
Not at all, because A, they talk, so you don't have to read. And B, the way that the dialogue, I mean, we're all familiar with the dialogue wheel, right?
Sure.
Well, they have the little dialogue wheel, and on the left-hand side of the dialogue wheel is always just additional information. So if you're just trying to get more info out of the people, you're on the left. To advance the conversation or advance whatever, use the options on the right. And on the right, it's always the top option is good, the middle option is kind of a neutral, and the bottom option is renegade. So without even really seeing any of the text, you know how you want to respond, so you just kind of pick that. So it's really not that big of a deal. The big issue with Dead Rising 2, or Dead Rising, was it wasn't audio. You had to read it.
You had to read, and it was like, go to this building over here for your next mission, and you couldn't read that, so you had no idea where to go.
Exactly. So you couldn't advance the game, but you don't need that to advance the game right now. It's you just kind of do your thing.
And you don't need Dead Rising anymore because there's Left 4 Dead.
Yeah, I don't play Dead Rising anymore for just that reason.
So the annoying thing was that BioWare released a statement saying, yeah, we know there's an issue and there's nothing we can do to fix it. Sorry.
You know, and that's the kind of thing that irritates me because, yes, there's plenty you could have done to fix it. You could have not done that.
Yeah, you could have not have done it in the first place.
That's a very surprising statement, especially from BioWare, who has a reputation for not being dickish.
And there was, I think Ratchet and Clank or something was another game that had a similar issue, and they were able to fix the text size with a patch. And so the statement from BioWare was, we can't fix it with a patch. Sorry.
That's a weird thing because there was an infinite amount of things they could have made the game look like. They could have just rendered any graphic they wanted to. And so they're saying something like, we can't change what the text looks like is a little suspect. What it probably means is, wow, that'd be a giant pain in the ass, and we don't care about the 10 people who still have standard def televisions.
But I don't understand why they don't just factor that in when they're originally programming the game.
Maybe they ran out of space on whatever disk they had.
I suppose. The first thing I was going to say was... I suppose if you have hard-coded your text in there at a certain font size or something, changing all of the text would mean going back and changing, if you think of like HTML, where you've got a tag that says font size 10, and then your text, maybe would have to go in and actually change every single line of code with text to a different font size. I could see them saying, we can't do that because, that, like Bob said, that would be a giant pain in the ass.
It's probably even worse than that. It's probably all... it's probably not even a font. It might just be all rendered.
Yeah, or a graphic, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, is that how they actually do that?
I don't know. They could. That'd be a lot. I don't know.
Would that be easier?
I don't know.
Yeah. It might be easier to implement during, coding. Just have everything a graphic.
Yeah, they probably, if that's the case, what probably happened was they did all the text, baked out all the textures, and then just saved them in some weird compressed format. So there's not actually text saved. It's just like, oh, when this dialogue comes up, bring up this graphic that happens to have words in it. So that might mean they have to re-render everything, which could be a big, huge pain.
So the biggest problem that I had was the article I read, I think was on Joystick, had linked to another article that was from within the last year that said that the percentage of people who still have standard definition TVs is startlingly large still. Something, like 48% of people who play video console games are still playing on standard def TVs. So,
well, when 10% of people in the country are unemployed, well, yeah, you're not going to really, be running out to buy, I don't know, a new...
Valid.
So, like Bob said, the 10 people who are still using standard def TVs, it sounds like that's not the case. It sounds like they're still close to... I didn't see what the number was, but it was pretty high, I guess, was that it's not like 90% of people who play video games on a console are using a high-def TV. So from the get-go, they're kind of alienating their audience in the first place.
Yeah, but I don't know. That seems to be kind of the norm. Well, I shouldn't even say that's kind of the norm, because... most games are not, you can play and you read, but it's honestly, dude, I sit on, and I don't know if you've actually been in my apartment, but we have a love seat that's almost catty corner to the TV.
I have not. I would have remembered the lizards.
I sit on that little chair, like that's catty corner to the TV, and I still can't read it. It's horribly annoying, but... in that sense, with that, it's all audio anyway, so it's not as big of a deal, but it's still very annoying that they still have that problem.
Well, if it's audio anyway, can't you just have it, turn on captioning like they do when you're in a bar? It'll just, come up and every fifth word will be misspelled.
No. Well, you have the option, because at default, it doesn't even have the text being shown. Like, when you're talking... the only time you see the text is when you're selecting what you want to say. But when they're actually saying it, you don't see any words by default. You have to turn on the subtitles.
I think that's enough with this. It's been 9 minutes of talking about fonts.
So, do you have any other interesting things going on with the game itself, other than the text thing?
I'm just having a lot of fun with it. It's a good game.
Is it comparable to the first one?
It's comparable to the first one, but the way that I like how they did a lot of the fighting is better. The AI is much, much better. Although today I was laughing because the one board I'm on, the sun, you can't go directly into the sunlight or it starts killing you. Except anytime enemies would show up, my other two guys that were with me would run for cover, regardless if it was the sun or not. So they'd run and they'd be hiding behind a stone going, "We have to get out of the sun!" And they're just sitting there burning as they sit in the sun, burning.
So it's like Pitch Dark? Is that what the name of the movie was? The Vin Diesel thing where they were on some...
Pitch Black, yeah.
Pitch Black.
No, it's just that the sun was dying or something, so it was burning faster than it should. So it was killing... if you go into it, it kills you. But it was just the one board. But the AI is much better. The players aren't as dumb as they were in the first one. The way they do the combat now is, before you would specialize really in a type of gun in the first one, and then that's what you'd use. Now you don't really have any specializations like that. It's just you use whatever guns you have. And based on the class you are is what types of guns you can use. And I also like how they did the ammo. It's all universal ammo now. So whatever gun you're using, you're holding, when you pick up an ammo clip, that's the first thing that it'll refill, and then it just starts refilling all your other open ammo slots. So it's just kind of cool. The dialogue's better. It's just a much smoother game. They went ape shit with the graphics though, like with the details of everything. But I've been having a blast with it. I'm really enjoying it. Fun game. I recommend it though. Since it's single player, you can wait until the price goes down. I mean,
knew that was coming.
well, I mean, it's true. It's not anything where you have to run out and get it. But, you know, I did my annual after Christmas turning in all my games, like all my old games. Most of the ones are the old ones that Chris gave me, but I turned them all in, and then I pick up a new game. So I got Mass Effect for like $2 or something, which was nice. Fun game, but I would recommend waiting until the price goes down. I'm still waiting for Dragon Age price to go down, so I pick it up on Steam because I don't want to get it for the Xbox. I want to get it on Steam. But I still don't understand why people run out and spend $60 on single-player games, but that's just me.
I was going to ask you that. Would there be a game that you would be willing to spend $60 on?
Single-player?
Yeah. For the Xbox.
Probably not, man. Well, no, that's not true, because I did go out and I did buy Batman.
So you think Batman was worth $60, though? Or did you go out and buy it thinking it was and then said, yeah, I probably could have waited for the price to come down?
Well, I went out buying it. Yes, it was worth $60, but yes, I could have waited for the price to go down. It's a single-player game. There's no reason to have to run out and get it on the spot. I mean, the only reason to really have to do that is to keep up with other people that are playing the games, like Borderlands or something.
Yeah, if you went out and bought it now, you'd be screwed.
Exactly. You know, so I mean, that's really the only reason that I can see to go and do that. But I mean, hey, the game companies obviously are going to want you to buy their game, so that makes sense. But I don't understand why, if you literally wait 2 months, the game is usually $40. They usually drop it by $20. So I don't see the point. But hey, that's me. I mean, would you go pay $60 for a single player game?
I would, but only because I don't do it very often. And that's a good segue into one thing I wanted to talk about, which was Tuesday. Both Dante's Inferno and Bioshock 2 come out. And both are single-player games, no multiplayer. And I'm seriously considering whether or not I will buy one. I probably won't buy both, but I may buy one or the other of them.
That's true, because I got to say, Dante's Inferno looks pretty badass.
Yeah.
That looks awesome.
Yeah. And so, like I said, since I don't do it very often anymore, I've been playing Warcraft so much that, I really don't need any other video games. And then the stuff that you guys and I play, because I used to buy every other month, I used to buy an Xbox game. Well, I haven't bought an Xbox game since Fallout 3.
Since I got Mass Effect 2, I haven't even turned on my Xbox.
Right. So I would consider paying $60, but it would have to be something big. Bioshock 2 only because I played Bioshock 1 and it was really, really, really good.
And I see people complaining about it, about the story. I haven't really looked into it that much, but what are people bitching about the story with it? They're saying it's not in depth enough, or it's not.
I have no idea.
Dude, it's the internet. They're gonna whine about everything. It's their way.
So the first game, you were a guy that crash landed outside of an island, and you get on the island and you find out that it's a entrance way to an underwater city kind of thing.
Best board ever, right?
I'm pretty sure you had no knowledge of, it's not like, I don't think you were traveling there or anything. Your plane crashed and that's where you wound up. And there were these giant robot kind of things called Big Daddies that protected these strange half-zombie girls called Little Sisters. So as far as I know, and I haven't really been following, much of anything, I think you play as a Big Daddy in the second one.
That game sounds horrible when you say that out loud like that.
It does, I know.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, okay,
I am not motivated at all to play that now.
No. Well, I did a horrible job. I would fail at marketing. I'm not doing it justice, but it was a very, very good game.
I've also come to the conclusion that most games, when you actually describe their plot, you're just kind of like, oh, that's the game.
Well, I had a conversation a few weeks ago about that exact thing, where they were trying for some award, something or other, was trying to like give awards for video game stories, and I couldn't help laughing at that, because video game stories are never, how can I put this? The story is motivated by the mechanics of the game, not the other way around. Like, a good game is based around a fun thing to do, a fun, the gameplay itself, and then the story is constructed to give the gameplay an excuse. I mean, I think I've bitched about this enough with like Unreal and all this stuff. It's just, the stories in these games, they have to be construed around this mechanic that the game has, rather than, just being a story for the sake of being a story. And I think in that way, they're never going to be as good as something that's just a piece of literature.
Right. You have games like Silent Hill or something, which actually have a pretty decent story to them, but then you're really not doing much in the game. You walk around and you inspect some things, and then you may have a fight kind of sequence with a zombie thing, but, the fun in that comes from developing the story. You know what I mean? So the game itself isn't rated, in the top 10 of best funnest games to play.
And then you get something like, something that's really fun to play, like Torchlight, and imagine telling a story based on that game. So I went down in the dungeon and I killed some stuff and found some gear. And then I went back to the city and I sold it. And then I went back down and I killed some stuff and I found some gear. And then I went back to the city and I sold it. And I bought a new sword. And I took my sword back. See where I'm going with this. It's just...
That's actually really funny. I do have to give props, though, to BioWare, because their games have all had good stories.
Yeah, I'm not saying a story of a game can't be entertaining. I'm just saying...
Well, no, just as we're sitting here knocking all of the game stories, I mean, Knights of the Old Republic, Baldur's Gate, Mass Effect, those are all very good stories within the game, as well as who does the Dawn of War, because I really like those as well. THQ. I like that as well. Dawn of War 2 and those. Well, I'm also just a Space Marine Warhammer 40,000 nut, so I guess that's kind of not being wholly truthful, but hey, it's still a good story.
And to this day, I have to say, along with that, being as part of the Chris group, who has a bad habit of just fast forwarding through stories, that has never detrimentally affected me in a game. So to that end, it's kind of like, if the story has so little impact that I can always just fast forward through it and still manage to beat the game successfully, it can't be that good either.
Well, but they also have to put in consideration that there are going to be
assholes like me.
Exactly.
The cretins like me who just fast forward through everything.
Exactly. So they have to kind of accommodate that when they're making the game.
I would like to really sit down and talk with a writer from a video game and see what kind of, hoops they have to jump through in order to kind of shoehorn a story into a game, or shoehorn a game into a story type deal. Because I bet there's a lot of really weird considerations I have to make exactly like that.
Yeah. Like, you can't have the story that says, and now we're going to go to this city and do this thing, and then expect the player to follow the story and go there because of idiots. I shouldn't say idiots. Cretins, as you put it, like you.
But there was a side quest.
Right, who are just going to click past it and say, I have no idea where I'm supposed to go.
Nor do I care.
Nor do I care. My sword needs to be sharpened.
The game isn't pointing me in the right direction. The story was, and since I wasn't paying attention, right, so you have to make that consideration. You have to put some kind of game mechanic in there that, pops up a map icon on your screen with a little dotted line to the next city and says, go here.
You know what? I think a lot of that, too, is due to... let's think about this the other way. Maybe the fact that I fast forward through everything is due to the fact that some of the stories from some of these games get so convoluted and so wrapped up in themselves that they get very complicated and hard to follow. For a bad example, let's just pick Neverwinter Nights 2, Like there were a lot of like subplots and little character stories that just had they were just all over the place, and I just didn't care. And after, I mean, in that game, I actually tried reading it because I really wanted to get into it, and the story kind of got me out of the game in that case. That and the basic mechanic of Neverwinter Nights 2 was awful.
But you can't be the minority because
oh God, no.
they're making the games that way. I mean, look at all the quote unquote new features that they always add is a way to speed the game along.
Right.
So I just am a firm believer that story in video games is universally a backseat thing.
Oh, absolutely. So if you look at the spectrum of things of entertainment, you have music, you have movies, you have television shows, you have video games, and they're all independent of each other. They sometimes overlap. You can have music in a movie, or you can have a TV show that, became or turned into a movie, or a video game based on one of those things, but they're all separate things. So trying to force like a movie into a video game and have them be one and the same is never a good idea.
Yeah, that's a really, really good point, especially when you said, like, you have music in your movies. And it's kind of like, yeah, some of that music is really good, but are you really, really paying attention to the music while the movie's going on? It's more there just as ambiance. That's a very good example.
Absolutely perfect examples. If you've ever watched a movie and then they release the soundtrack, you go out and you buy the soundtrack and you listen to it and you're like, there's several things that can go on, like, oh, I remember that briefly in the movie. Or most of the time, at least when I've done it, I'm like, I don't ever remember the song being in the movie, or I heard 5 to 10 seconds of this song playing in the movie, and the rest of it, I'm now hearing for the first time.
But isn't that kind of the sign of, I mean, if you're playing a video game and you're sitting there going, wow, this music is anything, good, bad, anywhere in between, isn't that kind of overpowering in the sense that, the music should just be there and not make the game worse. I'm probably under appreciating the music from that aspect, but if you don't notice it, it's a good thing.
I agree, but that's kind of my point, is that so you're playing a video game as a single form of entertainment, and to expect that it also be as good as a movie, I think you're going into it with too high expectations. First and foremost, you're playing a game, which is the chosen form of entertainment that you've had. I'm going to sit down and I'm going to play a game. That is what I want to entertain me, a game. And then have the story be subpar and then being upset about it. I think, like I said, I think your expectations are too high. It's a game first and foremost. The story can either be absolutely horrible, be average to the point of, yeah, it fits, that's fine, or it can be really, really good. But to expect that your video game be as good as a feature-length movie is
a lofty, I don't know the word I'm looking for.
But so you know what I mean? So if you think about it in that sense, that, there's different ways to be entertained. You could either watch a movie or read a book or listen to an album or play a video game and expect that any one thing be as good as any other thing if it has, multiple components, is just asking too much. All right, so we've got 15 minutes left.
I know we have, what was the contest thing that he had up there?
I don't know. I can't look.
Oh, that's right.
I'm still staring at my f***ing waveform, but it hasn't stopped. Don't touch the mouse. Don't ever touch the mouse.
It's like a wolf. Once you've locked eyes with it, as soon as you avert your gaze, it will pounce.
Don't look away. Don't you look away.
Don't you ever look away. Anyway, we have a Battleforge, and I know Battleforge was the RTS game that kind of used cards, if memory serves.
Correct. Zeus Hates You from our forums has a code given to us to give away for Battleforge, which I guess is a free-to-play game, but you spend points on cards, which you then use in the game. And I'm assuming you can probably spend real money to get points to buy cards to play the game. So we're thinking that this code is probably for some points. So we have a contest, courtesy of Zeus Hates You, for a Battleforge code. So if you have Battleforge or are interested in Battleforge or want to play Battleforge, we have a code for you. And all you have to do is X.
Oh, we have to physically come up with a...
Oh, right.
Well, we have to do something. I mean, even if it's just send us a email and we'll pick someone at random.
That is the weakest contest ever, but that would be funny.
Well, that's what I'm saying. So Chad's note was we have a code giveaway. We have to have a contest.
You know, every time I try to think of a good idea, nobody ever does it. So I'm all for the send in an email and we'll pick one at random.
You know, the one that I actually had the most fun with is when we did the poster. And we had, like, you know, the Emilio Wants You and all the different... I thought that was great, but not enough people do that.
Temple Dog did all the good ones.
Well, I guess that's true.
That, I don't know how many people are actually going to want this, so why don't we just do something dumb?
Right, so here's what we'll do. We'll do a standard giveaway. Send us an email with the subject or something saying Battleforge contest.
Send us an email with your favorite prime number.
Oh my god, dude, seriously?
Oh, that's f***ing brilliant. I'm for it.
And whoever doesn't send us a duplicate gets it.
I like that. And then whoever doesn't send, of all the people who don't send duplicates, will randomly draw.
Right.
I'm for this. I think this is a wondrous idea.
All right, there's your contest. Send an email to mailbag@videogameshow.org with your favorite prime number. And if you have sent us a unique prime number that no one else has sent us, you will be randomly chosen for the Battleforge giveaway.
Oh, that's brilliant.
See, you don't gotta draw anything. Just email a number. And it better be prime.
And a little bit of help, don't send one.
There you go.
Oh, dude, that was a brilliant idea, Bob. Well played.
Why, thank you.
Chad can override that if he wants, but that's what we're going with because he left it up to us.
You know what? No, that. Chad, that's what you're running with because you weren't here.
That's what you have to deal with.
Although I was laughing. I saw Tom on Steam a little bit, like about 5:45-ish. I was like, hey, you're actually around. Are you going to be around for the show? He's like, no, I'm leaving to go watch the game downtown. I was like, oh, okay. So just wanted to pass that along. That Tom is too good for the show because he wanted to watch the big game.
The big game.
The big game.
I have to say, this is the first time for the Super Bowl. Like, I normally try to give myself an activity because if you leave the house while the Super Bowl is playing, everywhere is like a f***ing ghost town. You can get so much done. But I have like nothing to buy, no store that's far away to go to, nothing. I'm like perfectly content right now.
I mean, Dante's Inferno is not out yet.
Exactly. It's like there's nowhere to go. But yeah, I mean, the stores I normally go to, like, you know, Home Depot and Sport Mart and stuff, no one.
Yeah, you know, I don't think that Sport Mart would have a lot of customers on the Super Bowl.
There's not going to be anybody there.
Just saying.
Yeah, a couple places you want to stay away from are the pizza places and the grocery stores, but other than that, you're pretty good.
Right. Other than that, there's nothing. Nothing. You got to go to the mall, go. There's no one there.
So we've got some mail, and I read through it, and there's really only 2 decent questions. Actually, there was a good roll call question, but since we're not really doing roll call questions anymore, it's kind of ironic. Now the good ones start coming in. The roll call question, I'll just read it because it was funny, was, if you put Jesus in a video game, what class would he be and what powers would he have?
Well, I would say he'd be a cleric, but...
No way, dude, mage. Because he can, like, create food and water and all that stuff.
I think isn't that cleric spell as well?
Oh, I don't know.
I don't know.
Yeah, but he can walk on water. I don't think clerics can do that.
It would depend on the game. If you're doing World of Warcraft, he'd probably be a priest, which would be fitting. He could levitate, so he can walk over water.
No. I got it. No, that. Thief.
Thief.
What's the logic behind that one?
The thing is, he could never actually do any of that crap. It was just all shenanigans.
It was all smoke and mirrors.
It was all smoke and mirrors, and he's just that f***ing good.
He'd be an illusionist then.
No, thief. He has no powers. He just tricked everyone. Haha, assholes.
Like the Family Guy episode.
Yeah.
Exactly.
So I went back in time and I met Jesus, and gotta say, he's really not all that interesting. He does a little trick with the fingers where...
Da, 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 da.
Well, that was an email from Zeth.
Zeth, that was a good question. That was funny.
So we got one question which is actually kind of useful because, you know, we can answer it.
We can answer any question. Whether or not we give a good answer is totally different.
This is from Alex, and I'll sum up. He's running Windows 7, and he's having some issues with crashing. So his question is, he's been playing Torchlight and some other games, but he's concerned that with the crashing he's been experiencing, should he be making an investment in games to run on Windows 7? And my answer is, I've been running Windows 7 for a couple months now, and all of my Steam games being Borderlands, Left 4 Dead, Torchlight, and like Vegas, Windows 7 has not yet crashed on me once. So if you're having crashing problems, it might be something wrong with your computer, not Windows 7.
I would say it might be a hardware issue then.
Yeah. And then the question that we always answer, there's one from Ben who says, "Hey guys, been listening to your show forever, and you always talk about Diablo. Given such titles as Torchlight, World of Warcraft, and Borderlands, do you recommend me picking up Diablo 2 cheaply just for the experience, or should I wait until Diablo 3?
Wait until Diablo 3.
Yeah.
At this point, just wait until Diablo 3. If you want a Diablo experience, Torchlight.
Yeah, you just go play Torchlight.
Yeah, just go play Torchlight. There's your Diablo experience.
It's like the meth clinic for Diablo.
I agree with that. However, if you can find... I mean, the thing is Diablo 2 is not necessarily cheap. You know what I mean? You go into Best Buy and you're still going to spend $30 on frickin' Diablo 2.
Which is f***ing retarded. It should be like $5.
If for some reason you can find Diablo very cheap, if somebody gives you a copy or whatever, I would actually say absolutely play it for a couple weeks just to kind of get the experience.
Play it in windowed mode, by the way.
And when you fight Baal, or however you pronounce his name.
Baal?
Is it Baal or Baal?
I thought it was Baal.
I always called him Baal. I don't know.
Well, I mean, I always call it that too because it's easier to say, but I think it's technically the double A is pronounced Baal. I think it's Jewish or something.
But it'll cripple even the mightiest of computers. I think it's Jewish or something.
That wasn't supposed to
It wasn't supposed to be a joke, but it was still funny.
I thought the double A was like Yiddish or whatever the hell language is.
Yiddish. Like, hi, my name is Aaron.
That would be funny if that was how it was pronounced.
My name is Lloyd.
That's how I say it.
Lloyd.
My name's Lloyd. Could you stop doing that? What do you mean, Lloyd? Why are there two LLs if you don't want me to say them both?
Just to wrap that up, Torchlight is definitely a newer, better experience. But I mean, if you've never played Diablo, you should probably play Diablo 2.
You know what? The other option would also be Titan Quest. And for some ungodly reason, it's cheaper than Diablo.
Yeah, that doesn't make any sense.
So I would, and that game is honestly better than Diablo. So just don't go get the trainer.
Yeah, do yourself a favor. Don't cheat.
Oh, it's right. It's 7:30.
Oh man, really?
We gotta hurry. Gotta wrap it up.
All right. Well, it's 7:38, and that's approximately 40 minutes. And instead of getting into any, can you guys even understand me?
Yes. Yes. He must not be jerking too hard yet. He must be swabbing the cloaca first before he's really getting down to business.
Lubing up, getting his stuff.
Getting the Kleenex box ready. All right. Well.
Oh, now you're getting horrible.
Okay. Well, somebody put an end on it then.
And that was...
I want to do it. Just because you started. That was Video Game Show episode 180. Thank you for joining us this week. Have a pleasant evening or day or afternoon, whatever the hell time it is. You're a good kid.
Good kid. That's a good kid.
That was good. It was good. It was good. I liked it. It was good.
Yeah. All right, I'm going to hit stop, or maybe I'll just check my email. Either way, it's going to stop recording.